Hello, everyone, and welcome to Not Just Numbers, Honest Conversations with a Financial Advisor and Lawyer. I am Madison Demora, and I'm here with Mike Gary. Mike is a financial advisor and a CFP practitioner and the founder and the CEO of Yardley Wealth Management. He is also an estate planning lawyer, and his law firm is Yardley Estate Planning. Hey, Mike.
Hey Madison, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. All right, well, everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us. Today, we're taking a closer look at three numbers that are shaping the financial lives of women today and what those numbers mean for strategy, planning, and long-term security. Mike, these numbers aren't just abstract statistics, they really tell a story, don't they?
Maddie, they really do. They tell a story about earnings, longevity, and decision making. And while the focus is on women, really the insights apply to anyone managing wealth in today's evolving landscape.
Exactly. So today we're going to break down the numbers, explore the trends behind them, and talk through strategies that can help people make informed financial decisions, whether they're single, married, a primary earner, or planning for the future. Let's start with the first number, 45. That's the shares of investable assets women are projected to control by 2030 in the US and Europe. Mike, how significant is that?
Extremely. It's a remarkable increase, doubling from the approximately 18 trillion today to an estimated 34 trillion in just a few years, according to McKinsey. Much of this comes from the so-called great wealth transfer, that advisors have been talking about since I started in this industry like 30 years ago, where younger generations inherit assets from baby boomers. And women are expected to receive 70 to 80% of that wealth. And this is something we see like every day in our practice. A lot of our clients, are in their 50s and 60s, and they're inheriting from their parents who've made it into their 80s or 90s. Women managing 40% of wealth one day is just not that long. It's really just incredible when you think about it. I remember my mom telling me a story about her when in the 70s, her mother-in-law, my grandmother, told her to make sure she got a credit card in her own name. Like it's amazing how things have changed in not really that long of amount of time. And it's good. It's good.
Yeah. It is. And it's not just inheritance driving this, right? Earning patterns are shifting too.
Exactly. In 2023, 45% of mothers were breadwinners, with another 24% as co-breadwinners. That's a huge shift from decades ago where men overwhelmingly controlled family income. And I imagine that's going to continue. Like, it's been years now where more women than men have attended and finished college. And generally, college graduates earn more than non-college graduates. So, think this trend isn't changing anytime soon. Like it's here to stay.
So, what does this mean for strategy? Women increasingly direct wealth from investments to charitable giving. What strategic questions should they be asking?
Well, they should be asking the same ones that men and women should always be asking. And the key ones are, do you have a cohesive investment strategy or a patchwork of accounts? And this one, I think we talked about this in the last podcast, or I meant to. When we have accounts transfer over from somewhere else, like another advisor's managing, or the clients are managing themselves, generally there's no rhyme or reason. There's no like overarching theme. There's no investment policy. People just buy something that seems good at the time, and then they have it. And then they have accounts at multiple different places. People really get a cohesive investment strategy. Don't have more accounts than you need, and don't just have a patchwork, right? Know what you're doing. For couples, is financial security built around one income or structured around both equally? And that matters, and it could matter on insurance, it matter how you do things. Do estate plans and beneficiary designations reflect reality? Again, this is something, we update beneficiaries practically every day. There's somebody needs a beneficiary update because it was done 30 years ago when kids are babies, and now they're not babies anymore. So these are things that you can't just sit and forget. You have to keep on top of.
And when you're advising clients, what are some practical steps people should consider taking?
But sure, the common moves based on those issues are creating or updating a personal investment policy statement, consolidating scattered accounts for clarity and alignment, and right-sizing safety nets, disability coverage, life insurance coverage, and emergency reserves, all based on like the income and dependence.
So, the real takeaway here is that women are increasingly in the driver's seat of family wealth, and strategy should reflect that fact. Let's move to the second number, 5. On average, women live about 5 years longer than men. In the US, life expectancy in 2023 was 81.1 for women versus 75.8 for men. Mike, how does that change retirement planning?
Well, those extra years can be significant financially. Many of them involve you managing chronic health conditions, meaning healthcare and caregiving costs can extend well into retirement. Those can be 5 expensive extra years.
When you're planning with clients, how do you account for that longevity risk?
Sure. The ones we often do are first assuming you could live to 95. I don't know what the exact numbers our planning software is, but I think we use like 92 or 93 for men and 94 or 95 for women. Um, just you have to be careful and assume that things will be more expensive than you think. You can't plan on things being less expensive, and it's easier to adjust if you have extra funds than to face a shortfall. A lot of times we'll separate for portfolios by time horizon, near-term spending, long-term growth, and healthcare specific buckets. And then, depending on the client, we could stress test strategies for different things like model for longevity or higher healthcare costs and potential market volatility. So there's all kinds of things that we can do to look at someone's individual circumstances and plan for them.
Even modest additional years can mean tens or hundreds of thousands in extra expenses. So it's not just about preserving what you already have, but making sure there's enough growth and risk management built into the strategy. The third number is 59, the average age of widowhood for women in the US. That's a sobering statistic. Why is it so important from both a financial and estate planning perspective?
Well, it was a sobering statistic for me because by the time this podcast comes out, I'll be 59. And I remember when we saw the source material for this, you, Amy, and I like looking through, like we couldn't believe it. We wanted to see where this came from. But it did seem like there were several different sources that came up with that number. The financial impact can be significant if somebody becomes a widow at 59. Household income can drop between 37 to 50% when a spouse passes away, and nearly half of widows experience a decline in lifestyle within a year. And yet, widows who are working with a financial professional before that transition are 90% more likely to feel financially secure. Hey, sometimes we do a good job, right?
That's right. That's a powerful difference. When preparing for that possibility, how should women think about planning?
Sure. Frame it around 3 concepts: clarity, control, and continuity. Clarity, you means you have an inventory, current inventory of your accounts, your legal documents, and your key contacts, right? So you know your stuff. Control, be co-owner, not just beneficiary on accounts. Understand retirement income strategies. Be involved in the planning that we do, right? So you know what's going on. And continuity, establish relationships with your advisors, estate attorneys, and CPAs early, right? So if you are faced with that unfortunate circumstance, you know who to talk to. They'll know your situation a little bit, and it'll really make things a lot easier if you're coming from that position rather than just like trying to introduce yourself to people, during what could be a terrible time in your life.
And being prepared doesn't mean expecting the worst. It really means being ready to step into the driver's seat with confidence if life changes. When we look at these numbers together, 45, 5, and 59, how do these numbers connect?
Sure. Basically what we're saying is women today are more likely to earn a significant share of family income, accumulate assets in their own name, and outlive partners and ultimately manage wealth on behalf of others.
So, for someone listening today, what are the key questions they should be asking themselves?
So if income stops due to health or other reasons, can the family maintain a lifestyle and savings trajectory? Do your accounts, titles, and legal documents reflect that reality of your financial role? And does your strategy account for both the emotional and practical load of managing wealth?
And strategically, that might mean consulting professionals, building a career resilience fund, and aligning ownership, titling, and beneficiary designations with reality. These three numbers, 45, 5, and 59, tell a powerful story. Women are building, controlling, and stewarding wealth more than ever, often for themselves and for generations to come. Mike, any final thoughts?
Yeah, we're going to turn this into like a 15-second advertisement. Working with a financial professional can help turn insight into action, making sure strategy aligns with goals, timelines, and real life transitions. I think that the people who work with us are generally pretty happy that they're doing so. And I think we could really help in a lot of these things. Ads
Awesome.
over.
Yes. So, if you'd like to start that conversation and ensure your plan reflects on these realities, we're here to help. Thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for more insights to help you navigate life, wealth, and strategy with confidence. For more information on Yardley Wealth Management or Yardley Estate Planning, you can visit our websites at yardleywealth.net and yardleyestate.net. You can also follow us on socials at Yardley Wealth Management. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This podcast has been produced by Madison Demora and Mike Gary with technical and artistic help from Poe Productions.